Hi, welcome to Fish on Fridays. I'm Al McCauley. And if you have watched in the past episodes that I've done, you know that I really enjoy telling you stories that I call origin stories. How the Catholic Church and our great history, our great heritage has really infused itself into things, everyday life that we take for granted. It could be pop culture, it could be words, phrases, or idioms, it could be things, and we don't realize it necessarily. And so I really enjoy bringing these to light and sharing them with you, so it just gives you a greater sense of pride in our faith and to recognize that, boy, God is everywhere, as St. Ignatius of Loyola encouraged us to do, to find God in everything. And I'm filming this episode right at the beginning of May. And May is the month of Mary. That's how the Catholic Church reckons it and remembers the month of May. It's Mary's month. And so I want to talk a little bit about Mary and three specific flowers that are associated with her. Oftentimes you'll see them reflected in art or just in terms of their names. And so that's what I want to do today. Let's start with this one. Probably the most recognizable symbol in terms of flowers, at least, with Mary is the lily. The lily is a symbol of peace for sure, but it's also a symbol of purity. And it's associated and has been associated with Mary since really the first century of Christianity. There was a legend from the very early church that when Eve was cast out of Eden by God for her sin, that she cried, and from her tears sprung up this flower called a lily. And it was of different colors. And the lily was brought by the angel Gabriel at the Annunciation, when Gabriel came to Mary to announce that she was favored with God. Mary, the legend says, touched the lily and it turned white to represent her purity, her sinlessness. So we know as Catholics, we talk about things like the Immaculate Conception, which, by the way, we have an episode of that on Fish on Fridays. If you check back in our archives, you can look at it. I've done several episodes about Mary in the past, but so the lily has come to represent Mary. And specifically, the Catholic Church in a lot of ways, like if you go to France, you see lilies everywhere. And it's a symbol, again, of the Madonna, of Mary in the Catholic Church. Another plant or flower that's associated with her has her name in it, and it's marigold. The marigold is said to have bloomed during feast days of Mary, like I mentioned before, the Annunciation, which we celebrate every year on March 25th. But apparently, again, according to legend, the flower of the marigold blooms almost always on Marian feast days. And so it was typical, especially in the Middle Ages, to pick marigolds and make garlands out of them, to put them around the neck of Mary and statues of Mary, or to put them at her feet if it's a painting or an icon of Mary. The reason they're called marigolds, there's a legend that when the Holy Family was trying to escape the evil clutches of King Herod, who wanted to kill the firstborn, they left Israel and they went to Egypt to flee from that threat. When they were traveling, they were accosted by robbers who saw a pouch around Mary's waist. And assuming it was gold, they stole it and they opened it, and instead of finding gold or riches, they found marigolds, and it saved them. The robbers apparently were disgusted, said they saw that they had nothing, and so they let them go on their way. And so the marigold, again, has been associated with Mary ever since. The third plant or flower that is associated with Mary, and there are a lot more than this, the rose and rosary, as you can imagine, but the ones I want to focus on, the lily, the marigold, and the rosemary bush. Now, the rosemary bush was a wild bush, and again, when they're on the flight to Egypt, the Holy Family, Joseph, Mary, and Jesus, are fleeing Herod's attempt to kill the Christ child. They, of course, have to camp out. It's a long journey. And it said that Mary was washing in a stream the clothes of the infant Jesus, and she hung them to dry on a rosemary bush. And for the service of drying out the holy infant's clothes, God blessed it with a very fragrant and aromatic smell and odor, so that it would be very appealing down through the centuries. Now, a lot of these stories, of course, are based on legend, and legend doesn't mean that they didn't happen. It means that we should look for what the revealed truth is in those stories, and the fact that Mary is pure, the fact that God protects, and the fact that God rewards, and God is gracious and great in his giving abundantly to us. So again, this is the month of Mary. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope this has been a little bit of fun, maybe, especially if you're a gardener, if you like those particular flowers. If you feel free to share this with someone who maybe is named Mary or who likes to garden and might be interested in this content. I appreciate you watching every Friday for Fish on Fridays. It'd be great if you'd follow us on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel. But I look forward to talking with you again soon. Until next time, be good to each other and God bless.